The industrial kingdom of Vireldor. Skeen always got agitated at the smell of blood. He buzzed up and down on his leash, his tiny webbed wings swishing in hummingbird-like figure eights. He chattered away in his incomprehensible language, which manifested as a series of high-pitched, warbling sounds and impish giggling. Once Leandra had found it insufferable, but she'd long since grown accustomed to her companion's yapping. Garbed in glossy, obsidian armor, Commander Leandra Vore stood a full head taller than most men, with double the bulk. She strode at the head of her squad, unkempt brown mane flicking in the wind, demonic familiar leashed to a link on her right shoulder plate. Approaching the site of the massacre, she saw fallen shapes, men and horses. She guessed maybe 2 or 3 of each. Although it was hard to tell, pieces were scattered here and there. Black scorch marks adorned the nearby trees and patches of grass. Past the devastation stood another detachment of Vireldor soldiers in black armor, milling around with their steeds. They seemed startled by the arrival of Leandra and her comrades. Some saluted, others merely glowered. A tent had been erected in their midst, and Leandra didn't hesitate to head straight for it. Throwing open the flaps, she surveyed the scene inside. Chained to a post in the center, stripped to his undergarments, and bearing an array of shallow wounds, was a young man. Looming over him were 2 figures, one in showy Vireldor armor and one in a hooded cloak. The armored man turned towards Leandra. He bore a lopsided grin, dopey eyes, and wavy blonde hair. "Ah, if it isn't the Black Boar herself." "What is the meaning of this?" Leandra demanded. He gestured towards his prisoner. This one was part of a band of poachers who met some bad luck. "I can see that," Leandra growled. "I meant, what are you doing in my jurisdiction, Lieutenant Malric?" He scratched his head, feigning befuddlement. "Is it? I could swear there was another river or 2 before we reached Boar country." "You're about 17 miles past the last river or 2. Lieutenant Malric shrugged. "I can't keep track of all the bureaucracy. We're all on the same side, aren't we?" Leandra huffed. At last, her attention fell to the chained man. No more than a boy, really. "And this?" "Well," Malric began, pacing the length of the tent, "this fellow has been less than forthcoming about the nature of his troops' encounter. Criminal that he is, he's stayed tight-lipped. I thought he could use a little incentivizing." He cocked his head towards the cloaked man. "Leave it to Malric to bring a torturer with him, wherever he goes," Leandra thought. She eyed the chained boy. His eyes were unfocused. It was not cold in the tent, and yet he shivered, hands clasped to his arms. Leandra had seen soldiers in a similar state. Whatever he'd seen had shaken him to his core. He was beyond reason. Questioning him in this state was useless. "What exactly did you hope to get out of him?" Leandra asked. Malric cocked an eyebrow. "The size of the Daimonel that attacked them." "Pretty large, I'd say." "The direction it went." "Follow the scorched trees, perhaps," Malric sneered. "You and I both know specifics matter when dealing with these creatures. His account could be useful." "You should have left this to me," Leandra stated, flicking her hair. "Instead, you risked damaging the only witness. He looks close to death as it is." "I didn't," Malric said, his grin turning sadistic. Reaching into a chest, he withdrew a glowing item. A cage, as for a songbird, but this one contained something even more mesmeric. Unlatching it, out shot a radiant shape, which twirled around the room before settling on Malric's shoulder. A small, feather-winged, effeminate creature. Skeen went instantly berserk, barking and snapping against his leash. The angel cowed, hiding itself behind Malric. "A pure angel," Leandra breathed, aghast, But for one of your rank, I have friends in high places, Malric sneered, as if it were some inside joke. Leandra frowned. So that was your intention, to torture this boy to the brink of death, then use the angel to heal him. Accomplishing what exactly? Malric shrugged. Leandra shook her head. I could have made it so much simpler. She kneeled in front of the boy, then turned to the demon on her shoulder. Skeen Kogeri. While their own speech was incomprehensible, demons could be trained to follow some human commands. Skeen began floating in a circle, emitting a low-pitched, musical hum. As Leandra watched, the boy's eyes began to glaze over. His body relaxed. Compulsion. A demonic power. Left to his own devices, Skeen and demons like him would use this ability to sow discord, leading children into old wells, coercing adults into all manner of adulterous and violent activities. A strong mind could grow resistant to it in time, as Leandra's had, but for the uninitiated, the demon's spell could be quite enticing. "What is your name?" Leandra asked the boy. He looked up at her from beyond the veil of consciousness. "Edgar." "Edgar," Leandra said. "Tell me what you saw." "That settles it," Leandra said, storming out of the tent. "I'm taking over." Malric was tight on her heels. "I got here first. You can't hog all the glory, boar." He made an oinking sound to emphasize his point. Leandra whirled on him, and he flinched away. "This is my territory to patrol. It's my responsibility to hunt any Daimonel that passes through. And if that boy spoke true, you couldn't handle it anyways." Malric stiffened. The first patrol alerted to a Daimonel's presence is always the one tasked with its apprehension. "You were outside your jurisdiction. I was first. I'm pulling rank. And I'm pulling gender. This is no task for a—" His sentence was cut short by an explosive crack as Leandra loosed a black coil from her belt and sliced the barbed tip through the air, the arc terminating an inch from Malric's right eye. The whip fell to her side, aglow with pitch-black demonic energy, a serpent of pure shadow. Skeen whimpered on her shoulder. "A what?" Leandra asked. Malric touched his cheek. His finger came away red, a hair-thin gash running across his skin. The glowing creature that had been hiding behind his collar up to that point poked its head out, reaching a small hand up to the wound. Malric's eyes met Leandra's, searing with hatred. In an instant, every member of both detachments had drawn their weapons. Seconds felt like hours as both sides prepared for violence. The tension was broken by a pointed cough. "Am I interrupting something?" A new figure approached, escorted by two soldiers. He was in formal military dress, but lacked armor. He was bald, with a bushy black beard, and commanding gray eyes. His skin was crisscrossed by scars. At the sight of him, Leandra dropped to one knee, and her men followed. "Lord of Chains," she said with reverence. "Edric will do, child," he said with a wave of his hand. "I was investigating the trail left by that Daimonel. It seems I missed out on quite the drama." Malric dropped Leandra a sneer. "I told you I have friends in high places," he said under his voice. "I apologize for the intrusion into your jurisdiction, Commander Vor," continued Edric Morath. "You see, Malric has been operating under my authority in what we'll call a sensitive operation." "I had no idea, my lord," Leandra said, bowing deeper. What had Malric been playing at, not telling her? Had he been hoping she'd embarrass herself like this? "Rise, please," said Edric. Leandra did as commanded. "It seems we've found ourselves in quite the predicament," said Edric. "Tell the wench to leave off," said Malric. "This is my hunt." Edric shot him a glare, and he silenced himself. "I see only one solution to this impasse, a joint hunt. Commander Vor, Lieutenant Malric, You'll have to cooperate on this one. Both began to protest, then fell silent at a raise of Edric's hand. Leandra grit her teeth. As you wish, my lord. Malric was too stunned to speak. That, at least, gave Leandra some semblance of satisfaction. Ready your men, Commander Vor, said Edric. We ride at once. Recoiling her whip, Leandra nodded and turned to her troops. Skeen chittered on her shoulder. My lord, you can't be serious, Malric exclaimed once he and Edric were out of earshot. The mission will always take precedence, said Edric. She's a strong one, Commander Vor. It's a shame. She'll be dealt with when the time is right. Malric grinned. The angel on his shoulder hummed and frowned.